This is a pull planning kickoff video. It can be really scary to start a pull plan, to lead a pull plan, facilitate it, and participate. So in this video, we're going to show you how to kick it off, how to prepare for it, the exact steps to follow, and what to do after the meeting is over so that you can feel comfortable at every step of the way. All right, so let's get right into it. First and foremost, a pull plan, if you want to visualize it with me on my hands, is where you take a milestone and you work backwards, or however you're viewing this, you take a milestone and you work backwards with a sequence of activities so that you can have a proper sequence. But here are the reasons you want to do it. First and foremost, when you do a pull plan and you create a sequence for a series of construction activities, the purpose is to respect and bring in and utilize the wisdom of the last planners or the last people in the planning cycle, the foreman. Okay, so that's first and foremost. Secondly, there's a psychological effect that happens when you let people weigh into a process and buy in. If somebody's going to be expected, meaning each trade partner along that sequence, to execute that work, we can't just shove it down their throat. We 100% must make sure they're a part of it. If somebody gets given a schedule and we shove it down their throat, then there's a stress hormone that's released, cortisol, and people feel like they're in trauma, and it is not a good situation. If somebody weighs in, meaning they help us to create that sequence, and they buy in, your brain, even if it's difficult to execute, releases cortisol and oxytocin, which creates human connection. So not only do we respect the trades, not only do we get the wisdom of the foreman, but we also really get that buy-in and create a team, and we really get a good solid sequence for the work that we're planning. That's the reason that we do pull planning. So as we go, I want to say, consider this video your kickoff. So whether you're viewing this as a facilitator just to prepare, or if you show the video in front of the team, either way it's fine. Please feel free to pause the video at key moments if you want to execute that step right in the moment. And if you have trouble at any time, you can send me a text at 1-602-571-8987 or email me or message me any way you can, because I want to help you through this kickoff process. So let's get started. All right, so you knew I was going to head over here to our easel and the post-it notes, right? I just love drawing. So the way I like to visualize a pull plan is specifically like this. If you have a milestone to which you want to pull, or what I mean is, if you have a deadline and you need to know the sequence to get to that point, what we're going to do is identify that milestone, and then, this is how I like to visualize it, we create that sequence most of the time, if you're doing it physically in person, with little sticky notes, or if you're using a software, that's fine too, but you create a sequence of activities. Each one of these stickies is an activity, and what you do with the trade partners is get them in the right order, get the right duration for each one of them, and make sure that they're paired properly and that we have a good path to that milestone. So let me say this, there is a reason they call it pull, and there is a reason that we go backwards for anybody watching. The reason is this. When we start here and go forward, we're only thinking in a two-dimensional format, meaning we're only thinking what's next. But if you go backwards, you're actually saying, if I was going to do this activity, what do I need in front of it to get it done? So you're thinking in terms of what do I need. So not only what am I doing, what's next, but you have that other dimension of what would I actually need to be done for me to complete my work. And so when you run backwards, that's the concept of pull. That's based on, I can do this activity when these are done, and we identify all the needs and get all the needs on the pull plan. That's why you go backwards. So hopefully that's helpful. Now I'm going to explain the different phases of going through this meeting and this process. The first part of this is to identify that a pull plan is needed in the first place. So here's how I like to do it. If you have a schedule, and on that schedule, whether it's a CPM schedule or a takt plan, if an activity or a phase of work is going to happen here, let's say for instance, it's going to happen in July, okay? I want to know months ahead of time that I need to do this pull plan with the team, right? So I might be looking at this way back in March, and I'll put a milestone on this plan right up here that says, hey, it's time to go ahead and do a phase plan for this phase with pull planning techniques. So the first part of the pull planning process is to identify the need. So you can identify it from this milestone, or if you have your current data date, you look out ahead and you say, hey, we're within that 12-week, 6-week window. All of these need to be a part of a pull plan. Let's begin. All right, second, the communication part. Once you know that you have a need, either from working it back or from your current data date, the next thing you want to do is to communicate to the team that you're going to have a pull plan, and you're going to identify what the milestone is, what you're going to do, who needs to be a part of it, and really make sure that everybody is bought in to this upcoming pull plan. Number 3, now that everyone knows, you'll want to send out a message with 2 key things. Number 1, what is the milestone that they are pulling to? Meaning, what is the actual deadline that we're going to pull the sequence to so that we can actually pull plan that phase? You'll want all trades to know this, and this is going to either be through messaging, on site, in a meeting, or through an actual email. Either way, be super clear. Then I want you to explain to them how they can prepare. And the reason that I'm mentioning this is because you might ask them to pre-fill out their stickies. You might ask them to come up with the sequence themselves by way of preparation. At a minimum, you'll want them to research the drawings and the specs and come knowing exactly how they can participate and exactly how they can prepare for the meeting so that they can be effective while they're in the meeting. Okay, so number 4 is once you have everyone prepared, they've received that email, they've received that instruction, they know their assignments, they've pre-filled out their stickies, they've researched the plans and specifications, they know exactly what milestone we're going to pull to, they know the conditions of satisfaction. Now everyone gathers, right? So what you'll want to do is get your pull planning area. It could be a whiteboard, it could be a pre-formatted look-ahead schedule, it could just be an open wall or a curtain wall or a storefront, whatever you want. But wherever you're going to host this, you will, with the group, go ahead and orient them and make sure that they know how the day is going to go. And make sure that they know some key things, which we're going to talk about later on in the video, so they know the plan of how they're going to go through that pull plan. That is step number 4. Step 5. This is really important. Once you've opened up the meeting, everyone's been oriented like we're going to show you. What we need to do is begin in an intelligent way. This is what I like to do. If you've time blocked yourself, let's say 2.5 hours to do this pull plan for this phase, I love it. I believe that once you've done your initial orientation, gathered everyone, you have gone over the milestone, the conditions of satisfaction, the sticky format, the sticky colors, how the pull plan will work, the rules of engagement. Once you've done all of that with the group in this first part, right, this orientation part, I want to suggest that if anyone didn't come prepared, you could give them 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25, 30 minutes to go ahead and prepare or to finalize any of their stickies, any of their research, any of their input for the upcoming meeting. Then after that, and you know everyone's ready to go, you can bring them back and go ahead and execute the pull plan together, create that sequence, and really win because everyone is prepared. Then, like I said, the other step, step number 6, you're going to go ahead and execute that pull plan. And then step number 7, you are going to do any follow-up, close out the pull plan, say thank you, make sure those sequences are being pulled into your takt plan or into your CPM schedule, information is emailed out, finalized, people leave feeling like they know what's going on. And I do want to say on the LeanTakt channel, we will have a series of videos that talk about how to kick off and run meetings. I would like to ask you, please like and subscribe, because we really want to get this content to all of you. It's super interesting. How nice would it be to be able to play this video every time that you needed to kick off a meeting? Super awesome. Please like and subscribe. All right, we're going to get right into the steps of actually running the pull planning meeting. So let's go to step number one. Step number one, while we're actually there, and again, just to draw it, you have your board, you have your location, you are standing up in front of everyone, and everyone that needs to be in that meeting is there. You're in one co-located area, or you're on Zoom, you're online. But step number one, I'm going to write conditions of satisfaction. That means that if you have a milestone, I want that milestone identified, described, and I want to know, hey, if we do a pull plan to this milestone, what are the key things that we want to do? I'll give you a for instance. I would say, all right, we're pull planning for this floor right up until the time that we install drywall. And for the pull plan, I want it to be fairly high level. I want it to cover the entire floor, and I want all activities in there for every trade partner in the room, and we're going to complete a complete sequence, and we are going to attempt to gain on time and see if we can pull that back, because from a schedule standpoint, we want to gain 2 days. So you see what I've done there in that example. If we do this, I, as the general contractor, and our customer will be satisfied. So this is called the conditions of satisfaction, and it's when we really define that milestone and we really get clear about what we want. Okay, so that's step number one. And I will do a side note for you here real quick. This is bonus content. No one else teaches this. I really want you to pay attention. When you start here and you say, hey, here's your milestone and these are the conditions of satisfaction, the other thing you will always want to do is identify the amount of area or the space that you're pulling. Let me give you a for instance, and I'll put it right here under bullet item number one. Let's say that you have a floor and you want to pull plan the sequence for that floor. Well, you will never, and let's say actually, for instance, this is 40,000 square feet, right? You will never, ever pull plan that entire floor. You will find out how many zones you should actually have on that floor, and then pull plan one representative zone. And you can go onto the LeanTakt.com website, go down to our takt template, and in there there's a calculator where you can put in the number of activities, the number of zones you want to start with, and it will tell you ideally how many zones you need in this space for your schedule to go as fast as it possibly can. So let's say, for instance, instead of one zone here, at a minimum you would want 3, possibly even 4, 5, or 6. But the bottom line is you're not going to pull plan the whole floor. Whatever you come up with here will be for one representative zone. Step number 2, and I'll put this right over here. Step number 2, you want to identify not only your finish milestone, but your start milestone. And you don't want to have this confuse the system or the process or the engagement too much, because you really want to see what it takes in pulling it backwards. But this is a guideline and a reference so that you can make sure that your activities don't push before that start milestone, and you use these as parameters to see if you've gained any time. So step number 2, what is your start milestone? What is your finish milestone? Even though you'll work backwards. Step number 3. Step number 3 is you are going to identify your sticky format. And I will say there are some key parts to this that I really want you to follow, but everything else is totally up to you, right? So up here on the top, typically I like to see the duration and the crew count. Then I like to see the activity itself. I have the basic information, but then I want to see what are the needs. Remember, they call it pull planning, and we go backwards because we are establishing activities backwards based on need, which gives us that third dimension. So if I say, hey, I have this need, I'll write this in here as need number 1, need number 2, need number 3. Some people call them constraints. They can be called predecessors, whatever you want to call them. The bottom line is, for this activity, we need to have these done, and you put a check mark by it. I'll show you why in just a second. Step number 4, I'll write this right down here. Step number 4, if you have multiple trades, let's say trade partner number 1, trade partner number 2, trade partner number 3, you will want to come in here and make sure that everyone knows their color. So if you have the framing and drywall contractor and you're like, hey, we're going to give you green, go ahead on the board right now. Once you identify what that sticky should be and say, hey, green sticky, it's trade partner such and such. Let's say that trade partner number 3, let's say that that's blue. Go ahead and put them a blue sticky. Let's get that right up on the wall and make sure that everybody knows that the color blue is for trade partner number 3. So that's step number 4, is make sure everyone knows what color sticky they are. Step number 5, and this is probably the most important, and I'll write step number 5 right here. You're going to establish the rules of the pull plan. What's really nerve-wracking and what I'm really going to attempt to fix for you is, if you're going to facilitate or participate in a pull plan, there's this person over here that went to a training, this person from a company that's done it a different way, that trade partner went with this other contractor and they do it completely different, you learn differently, everyone's arguing and fighting about how to do this pull plan. Well, here's what you do. You say, step number 5, what are the rules for this pull plan? And you'll go ahead and list them out. Like, hey, we're going to run backwards. Don't touch somebody else's sticky. One conversation at a time. Key milestones are identified this way. If it's a problem and we don't have all needed resources and it's a roadblock, we go ahead and turn the sticky diagonally. Whatever the rules are, go ahead and list those here and make sure that everybody's on the same page, and you'll be set up for success. All right, and step 6, we are off to the pull plan. Now that you have the people, now that you have the conditions of satisfaction, you have clarity on your milestones, the sticky format, the sticky colors, and the rules of engagement, and everyone is in a psychologically safe environment where we are open, listening, and collaborating, you can begin your pull plan. What you need to do or get to do is to find the activity which is the last in the cycle. And this is what you do. You ask that person to come up and put their sticky in just before the milestone. And this is how you do it. They describe, hey, this is how long it takes, this is the crew size, this is the activity, but most importantly, they will have needs, just like I showed you up here. And what they will ask for is, they will say, hey, I need this. Then another trade partner who has that sticky will go ahead and put that up here. And this is the most important part. Once this other sticky is in here that fulfills this need, you can check that need off and know that your sequence is complete. Then this first person will say, hey, need number 2, I need such and such. Then another trade partner will come up and put their sticky up that fulfills that need. And then the first person that got up will cross off that second need. That person can now sit down, and now we go through this set of stickies and we start to populate it back so that all needs are met, right? So in marriages and in pull plans, we must make sure that everyone's needs are met in order to have a happy pull plan, happy job, and in the analogy, a happy marriage. So we work that backwards. Then, and I'll be brief with this because you likely already know, you can then do a forward pass and make sure, hey, this is a finish to start. Can they be parallelized? Can they go on top of each other? Is there anything in here that can be optimized? And have we gained time before that milestone as a buffer according to that one zone? So this is exactly the process I'm asking you to use. You reduce chaos by making sure that you follow these steps, that you make sure you identify the rules, and by going at these stickies one by one based on needs instead of having a free-for-all. So that's how you do it. And so now that your pull plan is complete, you've prepared for it, you've gotten everybody oriented, you followed the process, you have your sequence. Now that sequence will go into your takt plan as a takt sequence or into your CPM schedule, or as a deliverable on your wall that will filter into your 6-week Make Ready Look Ahead plan and your weekly work plans. The bottom line is you must take the sequences that you've developed and send those to the trade partners, pull them into your schedules, and make sure they're all vertically aligned. And we do that as fast as we possibly can so that everyone can see as a group, know as a group, and act as a group. So this is how you conclude your meeting. So if you use this as a preparatory tool, great. If you showed this in the video, I do want to say to all your trade partners out here, if you create this sequence with the GC, if you help them execute it, if you help that sequence to be protected in the field by seeing and removing roadblocks out ahead of your activity, you will be more successful. I promise you this will work out. Everyone in this room is doing their best. If you all work as a team and start to communicate in higher amounts and more frequently, you will be successful in your ability to execute the work as planned. So I'm excited for you. Everyone in the room, I want you to know you can do this. You have our support. Text me if you need help. Remember, you have my phone number. And in the description below, I'm going to give you that outline and that guide so that you can follow it step by step. We'll also link you to some other videos. I'm really excited for you as you take this journey together. I hope this video has been helpful, and on we go.